How was everybody tonight? Outstanding. We're 11 days in now. We're making progress as a football team. This is a great opportunity to find out what kind of football team you're going to have through the next 5 days. We're going to have 6 practices in 7 days. So a ton of mental toughness can be built during this period. And as you saw, you guys were out there, I thought the offense did an outstanding job in the short yardage period. I thought the defense gained some momentum back in the next period. That's kind of what you want. You want at practice, you want a slugfest. One guy take a punch, another guy take a punch, and keep landing. And we've got a long way to go as a football team, but we have some time to get there. So I'll open up to whatever you guys want to talk about.
In terms of linebackers, Tay Brown being out there a lot with Jacob Manu, just his growth and what you've seen out of him this camp, and same with Justin Flo behind Tay Brown as well.
I think Manu and Tay have done a really good job of working together in that rotation. As you saw tonight, we're working a lot of different rotations. Kamu's down with an ankle. We expect him to be back here in the next 4 or 5 days. I thought he was having a really good fall camp prior on to that ankle. Tay is becoming a really good football player, and he gets better, and I think those two have worked really well together. We're going to have a rotation. Flo has some unique skills that we've got to find ways to use. But I think we're making progress in establishing some depth that I was very concerned about coming out of spring. And then you've got Levi Sua and Jared Smalls, who are going to help on special teams and trying to find a role on defense, different packages. And I think they're coming along. Jared Smalls is the transfer from Tulane. He got here right before fall camp started, and I think he's doing a really good job in a short time.
From your perspective, when not just in your linebacker room, but overall on the roster, when guys are rotating in maybe a little bit more at this point in camp, there's some nicks and bruises here and there. How does that develop the depth of a roster as you guys kind of continue this grind all the way to week 1?
I mean, there's a lot of cliche things you hear about next man up, trying to figure out who that next man's going to be and who their teammates can trust. I mean, first they've got to earn trust by the coaches, but the coaches don't get to play. And we don't get to line up with those guys out there. So the guys that are standing next to them, they have to earn that respect in the locker room and know what to do and how to do it and proving that. And so right now we have an opportunity to work a bunch of guys in those things as we get closer to game week. After we get through these next 4 practices and then we start turning it towards season, you're going to see a lot of those reps diminish. And when you have teams that have guys on their team that understand their role, they might not like their role, but they do it to a championship level, then you have a chance to be good. If you got guys that are selfish and they don't accept that, and it can become an issue down the road. I think we have a very unselfish football team. As you can see, I mean, it's impressive in this day and age and the era we're in that the football team that has stayed together. And so I think you've got to build off that and get them to accept their roles. And I think we've got a lot of kids that understand. I think you have to give Coach Fish credit. You go from 1 to 5 to 10. Those guys learn that process, and now they believe in it. And now it's our job to keep them going.
Michael and Justin, you guys probably did more live stuff tonight, I think, than you have in any previous practice. As someone who has been in charge of a program before, how do you kind of find that line between protecting the players and also practicing tackling?
There's certain ones that you didn't see out there when we went live. That's for a reason, because we know they can play. If they haven't played in games, they need to play football. The only way you actually get better at doing something is doing it. And when we have our meetings and stuff, I want to scrimmage as much as we can. That's a defensive guy talking that. I've been in that chair where you got to worry about your starting running back. You got to worry about T-Mac. You got to worry about getting too close to Noah. Getting worried about Jonah. I mean, all those guys that have played a ton of reps. You get a chance to develop some skill with younger guys or guys that you're expecting to be the next man up, like my class. So I think you need to scrimmage as much as you can, but you have to be smart. Now that we're getting close to 2 weeks out, that'll start to fizz out a little bit. We'll probably have one more big one and then let them heal up and be ready to play, because they should feel really good on August 31st. And the rest of the year, they should feel terrible. If they don't, then we got an issue and we're not very good.
How are you guys approaching on the defensive side of the ball with the coach-to-player communications? Are you the guy who's in charge of that?
So we're doing a lot of talking throughout the country with both how people in college are going to handle it and how people in the NFL are handling it. I've reached out to Marvin Lewis with the LA Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, because they've been able to do that and see how we can use it. I think there's still going to be a signaling aspect, different on offense and defense. If we're going to huddle on offense, it's easy to use that thing. If you don't, they still have to signal. And I think stealing signals is a big thing. It's a lot bigger than people think. And so I think that helmet can be a big deal. We're still going to have to signal on defense, and we'll figure out it shuts off at whatever 15 seconds, so it's not like you can – and you know what? You can really screw a kid up by trying to give them too much. Paralysis by analysis before that goes in if you're not using it to call in plays.
Dave and then Brian.
Coach, you mentioned the red zone aspect and how the offense won there, and then you guys bounced back in the next phase after Dwayne got a bit upset out there. What was the essence of his message to the defense after the red zone phase there?
Let me keep my verbiage. You got your tails whooped. How are you going to respond? And Jacob Manu didn't take reps in those 2 live periods. Jacob Manu's not going to scrimmage a whole lot because he's played a ton of football. I think that's really good for our team because we need to find leadership when he's not in there. Our machine rolls when Jacob Manu's in there. And when he's not, we need to find the next man up to do that. And that was part of the deal too. You got a couple guys that aren't taking reps, and now we're not going to have energy. We're not going to respond. Basically, it was, we'll find out who our character is right now. Are you going to lay down and let them continue to beat you up for the rest of practice? Or are you going to respond? And glad they responded. It means we have some fighters on there that those guys like playing football, and we got a chance to have a special team. We got to stay healthy, and both sides of the ball have to be able to respond to adversity. I thought they responded.
And as the coach who, coached Jacory last year, what would you write his scouting report? What would you write on it?
I think Jacory's one of the most physical backs in the country, not just in the Big 12. I think he's a very special athlete. I'm excited he's on this football team. I got after his tail last year a whole bunch, and will continue to. I think Coach Carter's doing an outstanding job with that room. I think between Jacory and Quali and Speedy, Kedrick had some really nice runs tonight. I think we got an opportunity to have a special running back room, and I think you're going to see something very special from Jacory. He's a talented young man. It doesn't matter how talented those guys are if the 5 guys in front of them and the tight ends don't do their job. And I think what Coach Babers and Coach Oglesby and the running game stuff that they're doing, I think they can present some problems, and they have some special tools back there that they can use, and it's exciting. We can be pretty dang good on defense if we're over there like this watching Jacory run the football. So, that's a positive.
Brian and Jason.
I wanted to clarify. Have you guys not decided which player is going to be having the helmet communication, or is it going to be Manu?
It would be Manu.
And then, would you be the one calling into him, or would it be Coach Aquina? Is that still up in the air?
Definitely up in the air. Right now, it's a walkie-talkie. For 27 years of doing this, I've never had to hold a walkie-talkie and try and coach and try and talk, so figuring that aspect out. Myself with Coach Aquina and being on the headphones, and I don't know if you guys have watched Coach Aquina on a sideline. He hadn't called plays in a while, and as one of the best things he does is sideline adjustments, and he wears his headset on his shoulder 90% of the game. It's going to have to change a little bit. So us adjusting to all those things and being able to communicate, we're still working that whole deal out. And then we got to practice with the iPads on the sideline. And I'm a little disappointed with the iPads, to be honest with you, because I think Coach Aquina, this is going to sound a little arrogant, and I don't mean it to be. Myself, I think in our career, we've done some really good things with adjustments and being able to see things on the field without having to rely on a computer and make those game day adjustments. The coaches that make the adjustments on Saturday and not Sunday are the ones that win when the talent is equal. Well, now you can make some very average coaches a whole lot better by watching the video on the sideline. So I'm a little disappointed in that, but we got to use that tool. So we tried to practice it the other night. They had to update them. They weren't working the right way at the beginning. So old coaches get mad and say, well, forget it. So we'll have to do it again now that they've got it working, because they were working at the end.
You practice your ability, like how good you can throw them, like the
I'll tell you this. Your players are gonna respond to how you act. You throw a tablet like a little kid, they're gonna act that way. So there's coaches that do that, and that's their choice, and their kids feed off of some of that stuff, and you won't see me throw one. Now the game's changed. There's a picture of me holding one of my kids from San Diego State. You can Google. 15 years ago, I wouldn't do that anymore. And times have changed. You don't do that stuff anymore. I want to sometimes. But you got to be smart, and there's too many cameras and too many social media things and all those things nowadays to do those things.
Last question to Jason.
Where's the punting competition at right now?
I think Michael Salgado's the one that's leading. I've taken Tyler Loop off of that aspect of it. He was a big part of it in the spring. Jordan Forbes and Cash are behind him. I think Michael's done an outstanding job holding for Loop at the same time. So he's got a little bit of edge on those two spots. He's been the most productive. He's going to be a really talented kid. You rely on a true freshman, you're asking for true freshman mistakes. And he's earned the trust of Tyler Loop right now, which was probably bigger than earning my trust as the punter. Because you got a kid that can win the Lou Groza, and we've been doing some 2-minute situation. I mean, we had a situation the other day, the ball's at the 37-yard line, and the offense has a minute and whatever left. You get 15 yards, you're in field goal position for that kid. Is it a 65-yard field goal easy? No, but he makes it every day in practice, like routine off of the snap and the hold. So you got to be a little bit more aggressive in those situations to keep them from getting 15 yards. Keeping people from getting 15 yards in 2 minutes is hard. That's a pretty dang good weapon. Getting to the 40-yard line and know that you have a really good chance at getting points, that's a huge change in what your thought process can be. And if Michael can hold up his end of the bargain, and that position, holding a football for a kicker, is the most underrated position in all of football. They never notice that guy until he screws it up. Tony Romo against Seattle back in the day. They never know who that guy is until he makes himself known. And so if Michael can stay hidden there and then continue to progress as a punter, he can be really special. Jordan and Cash are right on his tail, so nothing's been decided. I would give the edge to Michael right now, but we got a long way to go over the next 2 weeks. And much like the rest of them, they've been I'm not much of a pitch count guy for the first 2 weeks of camp, so I know their legs are sore, their hips are sore. We'll start dialing them back. And outside of those guys, like I said, if our football team, it's our job now to get them fresh, and Coach Carroll does an outstanding job with recovery, and that's as important as anything. You get them to August 31st feeling really, really good, and then they should feel terrible. And I enjoy it. That's why they play football. That's why they like running into people. They like doing those things. It's a physical, violent game, and if you have guys that hurt and they can fight through that adversity, you can be a good football team. And I know the city of Tucson expects this football team to compete for 16 games. Like I said earlier, give Coach his credit for starting to build that thing, and Coach Brendan's done a phenomenal job. But the football team that was here is what's going to give us a chance to compete. We're so far away from 16 games right now. We got a game on August 31st, and that's all we're talking about. That's all they know. Go 1-0 that week, work on whoever we play next. And if we can do that, we have a chance. And I think the linebacker room, I'm going to say it again, Jacob Manu is the best linebacker in the Big 12. And I proudly say that. And I will beat that, and I tell him, I'm putting a target on your back, man, because people are going to come and they want to prove that they're better than you. Let them prove it. Jacob Manu's earned that stuff. And he's got to be healthy for us to win a bunch of football games. He's one of the toughest kids I've ever been around. He's one of the biggest alpha males I've ever been around. He's fun to coach. And when you can coach those guys the hardest and get after them, you got a chance. And, I mean, I don't care who they are. They're going to do it right or they're not going to do it. If he doesn't do it right, then, I mean, it doesn't matter who they are. So I'm going to coach the tar out of him. And I think he's been really good. And I think Tay's been really good. I think Kamu's been really good. Now we've got to find the next few pieces. And so we have a chance to be good on defense. We can stay healthy. I think up front we have a chance to be really good. that word chance. That means nothing. It's like the whole potential. Somebody tells you got potential, you better hope that word goes away, because that means you ain't living up to what they think you can do. We can be potentially good on defense. We'll see. And I'm having a whole bunch of fun working with Coach Keena and Coach Timalu and Coach Viney and Coach Arcee. I mean, I think we have a really special defensive staff. I really do. And we've got some young guys in there between Teddy Bolin and Ty Nichols, Jamie Fetterman Cobra. I think Addison Gums. I think we have some young coaches that have bright futures in this business. So I think we can build something really special with Coach Keena's leadership, and I'm having a whole bunch of fun. So I appreciate y'all.
All right, that's our time.
Yep. Thank you.